This evening, we have a ton to talk about surrounding Enzo Maresca. What's his current position at the football club, and what is Enzo Maresca really unhappy about? A lot to break down, a lot to discuss, so I hope you guys enjoy it. But my friends, very quickly, if you guys are planning on making any purchases to sign any of this season's excellent merchandise range, I am your guy. Don't forget to use Nini10 at checkout to get a full 10% off your final order at checkout. So I hope you guys enjoy, and let's discuss today's first reports. We start things off by discussing the latest news surrounding the board's position on Enzo Maresca. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to be citing multiple articles from Romano, Matt Law, the Daily Mail, The Athletic, tons basically, to give you guys the most up-to-date picture of what's going on at the club right now. But to start things off, let's focus on Matt Law's updated article that came out this afternoon. And as he says, Enzo Maresca retains the full support of Chelsea's board despite fan discontent. Now, when it comes to fan discontent, I don't really know how to answer that. I do. But let's focus on the story first before I give my thoughts and opinions. But as we're learning from Matt Law, Maresca has full faith from the board. And despite defeats to Brighton, which increased murmurings of discontent among the fan base, of course, the objective this season is still to challenge for the top four, as well as securing potential silverware this season as well. From the club's perspective, they see it like this. We've only lost 5 games recently in the last 6 months, and 2 losses have come from being a man down. Yeah? Honestly, it would be insane for the club to think about putting any pressure on Enzo Maresca during this current predicament. It doesn't really make too much sense, in my opinion. And I think if you're being objective, yeah, you take this news in good faith, because at least this is clear communication that kind of dispels all the negativity and all the rumors and the inklings suggesting that Maresca could be parting ways. We've all seen the many managers that have suddenly been linked with us. Cesc Fabregas, Rafinha, De Zerbi, and of course Areola, who does have admirers at the club. But right now the focus is on Enzo Maresca. As Matt Law says, all the players were promised expect no mid-season managerial changes. Players don't like to have everything they've been working on mean absolutely nothing later on. They need to have safety nets. They need to have assurances. They need that environment that gives them that stability. That is the key thing for all of them. So at the moment, the club are understanding that actually it's been quite difficult for us considering the lack of a pre-season and the amount of games that we've had to play. And I think that's very, very fair. As it says here in The Athletic, there was a really interesting article that came out that reveals that footballers have not been given enough time off between seasons, of course, to get ready for the new season. As it says here, it's recommended that there's at least 28 days off for pre-season to rest. Our players have not had that whatsoever. As it says here, Chelsea and PSG, the 2 finalists, gave their players 20 and 22 days off, respectively, and then held pre-season camps of only 13 and 7 days, respectively. That is not enough time. We've played so much football in this year alone that it's no surprise why maybe the intensity behind our press at times hasn't been absolute levels. And I think what makes things more complicated, because I like to be objective. Listen, I think sometimes when you guys listen to me, maybe you don't see the nuance in which I talk with, where I can easily discuss a negative or a criticism for particular decisions Maresca makes, but that doesn't equate to the fact that I want the guy out and that he's not good enough and that I'm just being a flip-flop. I hope you guys get that. You've been watching me for a long time. But going back to that point, the club thought by signing the players we did to add to the squad, that could potentially help with the loads. So when we've missed out on players like Liam Delap, who would be very helpful for us right now, he ain't back for another 8 weeks. And even then, when he is back, he'll need at least another 2-3 weeks just to get back to full speed. We've had injuries to Cole Palmer. He's our best player. He makes things happen. He it's the chaos Maresca system that takes us to a different level. To not have him in these last few games hasn't been great. Asugo, who would have been great midfield depth for us right now, considering Lavia's not being there, it means that guys like Enzo and Co are playing more games than they have to. And let's not forget all the injuries at the back, and players were waiting to get back to full fitness. The club knew very well that there could be some testing periods once we start the season, but articles reveal that the club are seeing things over the course of a 60-game plus season. And I think that's the correct type of way to see things. And listen, I've got my criticisms for decisions that are made, but I don't think these guys are idiots and fools. I'm always very clear with that distinction. Very, very clear with that distinction. So as I'm saying, at least we're getting some early indications of what the club's position is right now, and that is to fully back Enzo Maresca. Yes, we had many articles coming out at the same time. I know for cynical people, it's a news dump. You're getting briefed at the exact same time, sharing the same news. I feel you, I hear that 100%, but that's kind of the game, right? It's not really a sport where, you know, you can really break insider scoop stories like that without getting punished or losing access. You know, sports media, gaming media, and media in general, and entertainment, you're not going to really get that type of, you know, behind the scene full scoop stuff that you would get with like more hard hitting journalism for the news and global affairs, right? So let's kind of understand that perspective as well. Listen, I'm okay with things. I've been frustrated with Maresca's decisions he's made, but listen, I've spoken about this guy quite highly. I had a lot of praise for him for what he did in the Club World Cup. That performance against PSG has not been forgotten at all. One of the best performances I've seen in the last 10 years. It really was that good, yeah. And it told me straight away, if this guy has this ability in his locker to create the blueprint tactically to get us to compete at this type of level, for me, that is ridiculously exciting. And hopefully when a few variables come back in favor, key players coming back, full fitness as well, that can be the turning point that can really just like kickstart the season. But at the moment, it's been a bit annoying these last few games. And I understand where the energy comes from, because I think a lot of fans may be a bit bored of the fact that 4 seasons into this project, it only feels like right now, this is where the official kickoff point takes place for this project to really get legs. And that can be quite frustrating for the level of investment and money the club expect from fans. I mean, come on, look at the ticket prices for Benfica. Outrageous. The same ones who still can't bag front and shirt sponsors, and they're not doing their things that they have to do. That puts pressure on the fans, yeah, not only emotionally, but also financially as well. And I don't think that's right. So I understand where the feeling really comes from. I don't think it's really, to be fair, I'm not even really seeing anything stressing anger or dissent towards Maresca outside of like really, really small inklings, which is, come on, this is life, it's normal. Out of every 10 people, 1 or 2 aren't going to agree. And to be fair, based on what I've been seeing, I don't know what you guys' algorithm is saying, but for my algorithm, I've not been seeing anything too crazy to really feel like there's much real pressure going on right now. So that's the club's position on Enzo Maresca. But I want to talk about how Maresca is really feeling with things right now and how he really feels after this summer window. So let's have this conversation now. And this is where we can talk about some of the things that maybe they are kind of behind the scenes a little bit. But when I explain things, I think will make quite a lot of sense to a lot of you guys. But essentially, the insider scoop reveals the fact that Maresca feels disappointed by this summer window. And I think that's fair. Now, the club's position, they feel like they've given Maresca the players that he needs. And on paper, they have. Maresca now has 2 players for every position. That's fair. In that sense, there's more squad depth full of players who tactically fit the roles that he needs in the system. Fair enough. But from Maresca's perspective, you've got to see it like this. He's just been winning silverware over the last few months. He just beat PSG in the Club World Cup final. He's now shown that he's a manager that can win you things. Winners want to continue to win. Winners want the best ingredients. They want the best everything to continue to win. They've got a taste of winning now. They can't go back. They can't take a step back here and step back to having to rebuild a team and, develop players again. But you kind of want to improve what came before last season. So from that perspective, this is where he would feel, a little bit disappointed. And I completely agree with this. I think, come on, man, look at the summer window. You guys watch my news videos. I go in a lot of detail, repeat a lot of stories. Magnon was a guy he wanted. The board didn't secure him because of the money difference, because they felt like, okay, he's got 1 year left. It's not worth it, but let's see what happens in January. He won't be signing for us based on how Milan are performing right now this season, but he could be signed in time for next season. Fair enough, right? Let's look at other players that he had personal conversations with. Players such as Xavi Simons, players such as Mohamed Kudus. Mohamed Kudus was a big player that Enzo wanted, a big player for his setup in his system. He never got him. Even Fermin near the end, he had personal conversations to hope the club could maybe engineer something. And I think now that we have more information with hindsight behind us, it's quite obvious that Cole Palmer did have to be rested, and Maresca wanted someone as good to help the system. I think you're noticeably seeing maybe a lack of quality between the lines when Cole Palmer isn't playing there. And there was that one game where he came on as a sub and he scored. And instantly, with his introduction on the pitch, you could see the centre-backs playing line-breaking passes to Cole Palmer, who's on the half-turn, turning, facing goal, and making things happen. I can see why Maresca wants that, because he doesn't really have that outside of the club signing Boa-Norte in a loan move. So this is where the frustration does really come from, because ultimately it really is this simple. Maresca hasn't been given the opportunity to do Chelsea 2.0. Right now, it's Chelsea 1.5. It's 1.5 because he's worked with many of the players last season who get what needs to be done, but it's only 0.5 and not another 1 on top, because most of the guys who fit tactically are young, need a lot of time, didn't have the best preparation during pre-seasons, need experience, need arms held around them. They've gone to a pressure cooker club at Chelsea Football Club, and Maresca can't even turn towards experienced figures in the dressing room to just put their arm around players and guide them. We don't have that outside of Tosin and Sanchez, which is mad. But that's the reality. We don't have that. And this is why it's like you're basically taking a step forward and half a step back tactically. So I completely understand maybe where some of the frustration does come from, because listen, the boards have signed players for the future. They have. They all got big potential, big promise. But you're seeing already, you're not seeing Maresca turning towards Garnacho and Gittins immediately. Hato only just got his first proper start in a more familiar position. He's been using a lot of players more sporadically and kind of honing and looking towards keeping that experience of the team for good reason, which I completely understand and get. I think we got big talents, but I'm not naive to think that I'm expecting big things straight off the bat from these guys. Your Estevao, he'll need another year just to really clock the Prem. Yeah? Garnacho needs time. Gittins definitely needs a lot of time. We had players last season that had already been here, got used to the Prem, and your Nikos and Nkunkus and your Maduekes, where, I'll be honest with you, if Maresca still had access to these guys in the squad right now, he'd be using them. But this is where my point ends. He is a head coach. Ultimately, he doesn't have a say. He works with what is given towards him. The board in their position, they're like, okay, you tell us the roles you need profile-wise and tactically. We'll find players there, but we're finding the players we want. It's just your job to coach him. And that's fair, but then you can't expect miracles from players who aren't there just yet. You can't. You need to have that balance of right now and the future. And I just wish sometimes we had that. So listen, I don't think Maresca has to worry about his job unless crazy things happen, or Maresca decides, well, it's quite hard for me to take my ideas to the next level, because I just don't have confidence that myself and the directors are fully aligned when it comes to what is best for the team, but most importantly, what is best to push the team forward to new heights. That is what we are still waiting to see as a fan base now for the 4th season in a row. So my friends, get involved in this conversation. How are you feeling on Enzo Maresca? And I'll catch you guys very soon for my match preview. Love